For the airlines and for Boeing, Bill Allen's gamble paid off.
Had changed completely. You now had more people crossing the Atlantic by air than by sea, overturning a millennia's worth of ocean-going voyages.
The British were actually the first to embrace the idea of a passenger jet. In 1952, they introduced a 40-seat plane called the de Havilland Comet. It was a beautiful design to look at, but the Comet was doomed.
It was an exquisitely beautiful machine, very sleek, a beauty to behold. But unknown to them and unknown to the aviation business at the time, there was a flaw in the way the fuselage was constructed.
Soon after the Comet entered service, it suffered a series of mysterious and catastrophic failures.
3 Comets crashed, and that was not actually due to the fact that they were jets.
It was because the Comet had square windows and not round ones. In the corner of the window, metal fatigue developed. And when the plane reached a certain altitude, it suffered an explosive decompression because the pressure inside the cabin found the weakness in that window frame, and it exploded the cabin. The idea was bold, but the boldness exceeded the technical ability to produce a plane that fully understood the risks of high-speed flight and of flying at those altitudes.
But Bill Allen was confident that Boeing's engineers understood high-speed, high-altitude flight better than anyone.
A company that's going to be successful needs a man like Bill Allen.
Bill Allen had spent years serving as Boeing's corporate lawyer. He became the president of Boeing just as the government was canceling $1.5 billion in contracts with the company. The B-47 bomber was an exception. It was a plane that was taking the Air Force into the jet age. Bill Allen wanted it to do even more. Allen had been listening to George Schuyler and his team sing the praises of the swept-wing B-47. The jet was quieter, smoother, and much faster than any prop plane. So in the summer of 1950, Bill Allen decided to try it out for himself.
He climbed up into the belly of the beast and sat behind the pilot.
The B-47 lifted Bill Allen to an altitude thousands of feet higher than passenger planes typically traveled. And it reached speeds nearly 2 times faster, more than 600 miles an hour.
He had the jet experience for the first time. It was very quiet up there, and it was really transforming for him.
Bill Allen taking a ride in a B-47, seeing is believing. This is where passengers want to be. And if I want to be here, passengers want to be here.
But convincing airlines to believe that passenger jets were the future was another matter. They would not be eager to abandon their fleets of propeller-driven planes. And passengers, too, were wary of jets.
There was a lot of skepticism and almost fear of jet travel. People really wondered whether that was just too fast for a human being to go.
People feared traveling on planes that were using a technology that was relatively new and relatively untested. And of course, the crash of the British Comets further exacerbated people's fears of flying aboard jets.
So in 1952, Allen committed Boeing to the next step, building a prototype.
But the financial risk of designing just a one-off prototype were enormous. Manufacturers were used to having airlines order 30, 40, 50 aeroplanes, underwriting the cost of building the prototypes. Not only were they building an aeroplane, they were building a brand new type of aeroplane. So it was a colossal risk.
We invested in that prototype something in excess of $16 million.
The whole company's future pivoted on that moment.
With this prototype, they would either leapfrog the competition or end up with an airplane that nobody wanted, and nobody would pay for. Bill Allen took the biggest financial gamble in the history of aviation. He was determined to take Boeing and commercial aviation into the jet age with a plane that would become the Boeing 707.
The prototype 707 was one of the most extraordinary airplanes, not just in the history of the Boeing company, but in the history of American commercial aviation.
In May 1954, the shiny, sleek 707 prototype was wheeled out of the Boeing plant just south of Seattle, Washington. The wife of the company's founder, Bill Boeing, christened it the airplane of tomorrow. But the reality that day was that no airline had yet embraced the 707 as the future of passenger travel. Now it was the future of the Boeing company itself that was at stake. 1 year after its rollout, the 707 looked like a loser. No airline had stepped forward to buy the plane that Bill Allen believed was the future of commercial aviation. So in the summer of 1955, Allen enlisted Boeing's chief test pilot, Tex Johnston, to help him sell the plane.
The only person under Boeing's $18 million insurance contract who was authorized to fly that airplane.
With executives of the major airlines gathered in Seattle for industry meetings, Allen seized an opportunity and invited them to attend a popular boat race on Lake Washington.
Bill Allen was actually on a boat on Lake Washington entertaining some clients.
And Johnson was supposed to take off, fly over the races, turn around and fly back to show the airplane off to the potential customers down at the race.
What he's to do, it was enough for him to do a flyby over the crowd because it was a sensational enough thing to see. It was a completely new machine, very sexy, made a roar. But Tex Johnston has an idea of his own.
There were probably 350, 400,000 people gathered, in or around the lake. The airplane all of a sudden started to turn, and it almost looked like the plane might be out of control.
He's over this crowd and he decides to do a barrel roll.
Okay, we're looking good.
And Allen's heart literally stops. He calls for pills from a guy alongside him. He thinks, what on earth does Tex think he's doing?
Tex went out and he turned around and damned if he didn't come back and roll it again over the course. And I think that was when it was generally conceded that Bill Allen about had a fit.
If this thing goes out of control and crashes, it could kill thousands of people. But even if it crashed elsewhere and didn't kill a single soul, it was still going to kill the company.
And legend has it that William Allen essentially said, what do you think you're doing? Our company depends on an airplane that you just rolled. Johnson looked at him and said, well, you wanted me to sell airplanes.
The demonstration was spectacular, but airline executives still felt the leap to jets was too risky. Everyone except for Pan Am's Juan Trippe. The legendary founder of Pan American World Airways started his airline with a mail route between Florida and Cuba in 1927. A decade later, his flying boats, called Pan Am Clippers, were island hopping their way across the Pacific. He expanded Pan American into the first worldwide airline.
Trippe was the man who saw the world airline map first and what you had to do to fulfill the promise of aviation. He was a titan of the airline business. He bestrode the business as a visionary and also as an egomaniac.
The success of Pan Am was based upon Juan Trippe the gambler. He made the most colossal gambles anybody has ever made, and he made them over and over again.
Trippe placed an order for 20 707s, but he insisted that nobody know about it. In true Trippe fashion, he wanted to enter the jet age with the greatest possible fanfare. In October 1955, there was an international aviation conference in New York. All the major airline leaders were in attendance.
And afterwards, they all came to Tripp's house. And he lets it slip that tomorrow in the paper you'll read that I've entered the jet age. They were frantic. They didn't know what to do. Every airline in the room rushed out to order the new planes. It upset the aviation world terrifically. My God, the cost to everybody was astronomical, and he forced it on them because he was first and he had enough nerve to go forward.
Rival airlines now had no choice. Enter the jet age or be left behind.
Welcome aboard the spacious cabin, attractively decorated, air-conditioned but drafty.
We would have a caviar and champagne service, and we'd have roast beef and lobster thermidor and 2 or 3 entrees to choose from. And all through we'd be serving really, really, really good wine.
Known as the jet set, and it was the thing to do. It was popular. The Beatles travelled on 707s. The Rolling Stones travelled on 707s. And so everybody wanted to travel on 707s.
Sinatra would sing, "Come fly with me," and it created an aura, a mystery, a magic. The jet age is a very early example of brilliant marketing. It was a great piece of show business.
For the airlines and for Boeing, Bill Allen's gamble paid off.
Within a year, movement patterns over the North Atlantic had changed completely. You now had more people crossing the Atlantic by air than by sea, overturning a millennia's worth of ocean-going voyages.
Something new in the human experience was about to happen. The utility of jet travel would enable the whole world to suddenly take wing.
One Tripp boasted, with characteristic grandiosity, in one fell swoop, we have shrunken the Earth.
Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? Then show your support by subscribing, ringing the bell, and enabling notifications to never miss videos like this.